Hello, dear friends. Here we are, the opportunity of being with you one more night. Yeah, it's almost night. It's like end of the evening, beginning of the night, and 10 days, 10 days of peacemaking skills. It's the gym of the soul in this 11th hour Spiritist Center, and you have an opportunity to join us right here, either in the app. We have the app of Cardiac Radio where you can listen to us as we're speaking here. And if you're listening to this on demand, this means that this episode has already been converted to the MP3 and is in the playlist of this program, 10 Days of Peacemaking Skills, which also tells you that if you want to watch us and listen to us, you can go to the YouTube channel of Cardiac Radio and do so. All right. Shall we, friends? Okay, so here we are. Mackenzie Mello is here with us, and we rejoice because Mackenzie is, yes, he's a wonderful friend. Many references, but I'm gonna catch up, like piggyback on what Fred Gouveia said the other day. A sweet mind, a sweetheart. Yes, what can I say? We can't help it. It's true. And it's amazing, Mackenzie, because we're going to talk about the balance of heart and reasoning to achieve peace. So thank you for joining us, Mac. Thank you for
Well,
being.
thank you for having me, Vanessa. It's a pleasure to be here together with this wonderful group of people. I mean, being here where Fred has already been, and a lot of other people has already been. It's an honor, I could say. So, thank you for inviting me and
For
for
joining.
allowing me to be here.
Thank you. And for those who are meeting Mackenzie, putting a face to the name, he is one of the hosts of the studies that happen at Cardiac Radio every Wednesday. And Francisca Kranz and Mackenzie Mello have been reading and discussing Andra Louis' books through Chico Xavier. And the book that you just ended, right? Sex and Destiny?
We are about to finish. I guess this week we are on chapter 13 of the second part, and we divided the book in this chapter in two parts because it's quite big. And I suppose next week we'll have chapter 13 part 2, and then in 2 weeks we will read and discuss the last chapter, which is chapter 14 of the second part, which is amazing. It's such a wonderful experience. It's heartwarming, tearjerker, at least for me. If you've been listening to our discussions and what I say, sometimes I choke up because it's really, really empowering and reassuring of life and of life here and life after death.
You're so right. That book is, I mean, all the books, but that book in particular is, especially the end you said, it's so revealing and
True.
so transformative, right?
Yeah,
We regain the trust that
yeah.
we
It's
overcome
it,
any inner obstacle.
one of the things that I find more interesting about this, and that we repeat a lot throughout the year, is that these are not characters; these are people, and they go through them. Some of them fail again, but some of them are able to fight and put the good fight in their hearts, and then strive to be the best, and they can, and they win over themselves, which is wonderful. And those are the greatest moments of the book, when you see that people that have problems like us, that they can do it, so we can do it. So that's really impressive.
Yeah, you're right. And Mackenzie um, is also one of the founding directors and directors of the center, Cantinho. But
Mhm.
the name English is Peabody, right?
Yeah, the official name is the Allan Kardec Spiritist Society of Peabody. We call it the little spot of light,
Oh.
which is also almost a direct translation, but it has that heartwarming feeling as well because a spot can be like a small place too. So it has the light, and so it's we like calling it the little spot of light here and there.
That's beautiful. So Mackenzie is here with us as we are marching towards this 10 days. This is, we started last week, so it's been a few days. We have other friends here with us. When the spirit mentors who guide these works on the 11th hour of each day, they said, we need to dedicate a few days, at least 10 days, to raising awareness on the need of coaching ourselves to becoming peacemakers. And I asked them, but the whole, all religious pathways, and for us, the Christ consciousness is really all about it. But Mentor Joseph replied, but Vanessa, don't forget, as Kardec published in the Spirit book, we need specific instructions in order to become compliant. Talking about the natural laws of life, people need detailed instructions to really follow through. So that's why Jesus said, I'm going to send you the promised consoler that is going to tell you what I wasn't able. I'm not going to be able to say. And this is why we're here, really to break down. It's almost as if we are in an anatomy class, and forgive me, but I love studying the brain. I know for some people it's like yucky to see like the brain, like out the blood vessels, but it's so beautiful, and it's as if we are opening, dissecting the anatomy of peacemaking. How do we do it? How do we get there? Oh, I want to be at peace. I want to make peace. But then the minute something hits us, we're like, we didn't bridge it up. So that's why we're here. And the mentor Joseph said, you better find friends to join you. And I said, I think, and I'm very happy every day, I have many friends, a spiritual family. I wish we could have one of them each and every day. He said, don't worry, but for now, just invite those who are more works at Kardec Radio, because this topic, Vanessa, is not simple. It's a topic that only happens that can only be dissected at four hands. You need friends with you, and we're going to be here as well. So that's why also Mackenzie's here with us, and we're especially honored that he's here because he left his home and to make sure that he's going to be with us and it's going to be right on. And he's in the little spot spirit center, spot of light.
Yeah, that's right. It's so that we can have the best conversation, no interruptions. And I'm at the place where, not that our homes aren't, but we just had a meeting tonight and it was really wonderful. We heard this talk about forgive and self-forgiveness, forgiveness and self-forgiveness. So it was quite a very interesting topic, and we just get inspired here. It's a different place. We know how the mentors work where we are working. So I decided to come here and say, oh, let's just focus on what we need to do, and let's do it.
God bless you. And for those who don't know, Mackenzie has a beautiful list of activities. But one more thing I want to share. He is the son of God. No, we know that. Of course, we all are the children of God. But he's the son of Jacob Mello. Jacob Mello, I personally owe a lot of gratitude to him because he was the one that taught us about the passes when we were in Baltimore, way back when. And through his teachings, we were able to spread it out to many other people, many other groups, including, and even like two friends who are in South Africa, like Rihanna, Julia, who is in Australia, Shane Martin, who is in Richmond, and many, many others. So we're very grateful to the works of the scholar because Jacob Mello is a scholar on the teachings of the science of past-giving and whatever we name it, doesn't matter. We have here, Mackenzie, before we start our breakdown, the workout of the night, we have here our beautiful Lea Severo. Thank you, Lea. Beautiful, beautiful. Raquel, the beautiful mother. Oh, beautiful mother. Thank you. Sunshine, how are you? I love the new picture. Okay. It looks very, very joyful. And Rafael, how are you, my friend? Rihanna, I saw the video, Rihanna, of one of your members. You're beginning the group in South Africa tomorrow, and the beautiful translations that you guys are doing to the Afrikaans language. It's so inspirational. Go press on, as Emilio says. Press on. Gustavo, Mackenzie, saying hi to you, Mackenzie.
Hi,
And
Gustavo.
you know him, Mac?
I guess I do, just by name. I know a few Gustavos, so I'm not sure which one it is. But
Yeah, many friends. As Jesus recommended, let's make friends. And here we are. Jailton, how are you? And we have Karina, my dear friend. I wish I were your teacher, Karina, because you're a wonderful student. By the way, and teachers love good students, and I bet the good spirits are very happy with you too. So many friends are coming in, and if you're joining us after, because the brain, what is real for the brain? What we're doing. So what we're thinking, what we're feeling, not exactly what others are doing. So if you're joining us right now on demand, it's real. We're here with you. We are, and I'm not eluding you. It's reality. This is the brain. Thank you, God, for building such a beautiful system. So today it's about heart and reasoning balance, Mac. It's about how to achieve these peacemaking skills by observing our emotions, our reasoning process. And we're going to begin by quoting two major chapters, two major paragraphs. Item 8, two paragraphs that can be groundbreaking in our lives, creating a new approach in life. It's titled Obedience and Resignation. What is it? If I say, Mac, obedience, some people are like, oh, please, especially because we see a world that even our leaders are trying to be above the law.
yeah, true.
They feel like they are above the law, but obedience is so important. As I tell Virginia, quem obedece, cresce.
Yeah,
If,
there's
if
no rhyme for that in English, but yeah.
it doesn't rhyme, right?
No, it doesn't rhyme. Yeah.
But if we obey, we grow because, little children, they want to grow. So if you obey, you're going to grow, Virginia. And then she's like, yes, mom. And she's even funny. I say, you need to practice. Yes, mom. Yes, ma'am. And then she turns to me and say, yes, mom. Yes,
Yeah.
ma'am. I said, good job, Virginia. Obedience and resignation. Do you mind just reading for us throughout and then we start breaking it down? Is that
Oh yeah,
okay?
sure. Yeah, that's fine. Let me pull it over to this side. So
Sure.
um,
We're with you.
so it's chapter 9 and item number 8 of the Gospel according to Spiritism. And this was a message that was written by the Spirit Lazare in Paris in 1863. That's what Kardec writes here. And he says, at all points, Jesus' doctrine teaches obedience and resignation, two very active companion virtues of meekness. Although people erroneously confuse them with the negation of sentiment and will, obedience is the consent of reason. Resignation is the consent of the heart. Both are active forces because they carry the burden of the trials that insensate rebellions lets drop. The coward cannot be resigned, just as the proud and selfish person cannot be obedient. Jesus was the incarnation of these virtues, scorned by materialistic antiquity. He came at a time in which Roman society was perishing in the bankruptcy of corruption. He came to make the triumphs of sacrifice and renunciation of the flesh shine in the bosom of downcast humankind. Every generation is thus marked with the stamp of either virtue or vice, which must either save or ruin it. The virtue of your generation is intellectual activity. Its vice is moral indifference. I say activity only, for a genius might suddenly arise and single-handedly discover horizons that the multitudes will see only later, whereas activity is the combining of everyone's efforts tests the intellectual advancement of that generation. Submit yourselves to the thrust we have come to give your spirits. Obey the great law of progress, which is the catchphrase of your generation. Woe to lazy spirits, those who close off their understanding. Woe to them, for we, who are the guides of humankind on the march, will apply the whip to compel their rebellious wills through the twofold effort of break and spur. All prideful resistance will yield sooner or later, but blessed are they who are meek, for they will lend a willing ear to our teachings. As I said before, it's Lazare, Paris, 1863.
Hmm. Mackenzie, we can, it's hard to go through the message without building like a foundation to it. So obedience and resignation. Here they're saying Jesus is the model, but let's go one step back and help one another and the friends who are watching us as well. Let us think together about what it means. What does obedience here mean?
Obedience is, to me, is that idea that you understand when we reach a certain level is when we understand what is being asked from us. We are at work, we are in school, and then the teacher says, do this, and you ask why. And then the teacher explains it to you, and then you say, oh, okay, that makes sense, so let's do it, because that's the right thing to do right now. Naturally, as we are growing and learning to think, sometimes we may question those orders or we may question some of those concepts, and that's when we can grow. But it should not be a confrontational, a violent confrontation. To talk, to discuss, to converse, and to finally find an agreement on something. And then, once again, we go back after we reached, okay, your teacher said that, but then this is better. So let's try to make it better. But disobeying just because I don't want to do it, and this is where we should not go. And so obedience is when I understand what's being asked for or being asked of me and doing it because it makes sense to be done, because it is the law at that moment, right? And that's what we should do at that specific moment. Some people might say, for example, it was law at once, and what should I obey the law? What should I do? What should I not do? Oh, I'm obeying the law because the law says that I can have slaves. So if I don't want to have slaves and I want to change the law, what should I do then? Right? So I can question it. I can try to change it. I can try to discuss with other people and advance the discussion. So, but until then, like Jesus asks of us, he says, give me a coin
Mm.
What do you have at the coin? The coin has Caesar's face. So the law is give Caesar's what is Caesar's and give God what is God's. So that's one of the ways of thinking of obedience. The law was written by people, even if they didn't want to, sometimes to make the best that they could, but it is written. It can be changed. Yes, it can be changed, but it should only be changed for the best and without the necessity of violent um, imposition or violent discussion. We can discuss, we can talk. So obedience to me is that, and that's why I think this sentence here in the Gospel according to Spiritism is so great when it says it's the consent of reason. So we have to agree to obey, but not agreeing doesn't mean that what is being said or what's being asked is wrong. No, I can disagree, and I'm not us and to be open. And so let's see, can we make it better? If not, then let's obey until the moment when we can make it better, because that's what the law says at that specific moment.
Yeah, you're saying, I don't agree when I have to pay um, parking citation tickets.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, what are you gonna do? You're gonna lose your car. Then you don't pay it. Let's see what happens in the future. And yeah, so
But
that's
as you're
it's a good
saying,
example. Yeah.
but you have to do what you have to do, and and always the rule of thumb for us in this obedience is, if I don't do it, I'm giving everyone in the world the same right
Right. Yeah.
to do the same. So what if everybody does take this direction? It's
What
gonna be
one good way to think about this that I think as well is, let's think about a law that everybody is under, and there's no question about it. It's the law of gravity, for example. Right? So one day maybe a person said, "Oh, let's break the law of gravity." What can they do? Uh, I'm going to fly. Yeah, that's fine. Just remember that you can fly, but gravity, because you will not be able to fly forever. What are you going to do? How is it going to be your landing? So you can go and you can do it. The law is there. I mean, you can disobey it. You can try to do something different, and that's fine. We have the free will to do it. We have all the possibilities. God gives us and grants us every little thing that we want. What we forget is that there are consequences, and they don't need to consequence, but it will have a consequence. Are we ready for it? And what are we willing to give based on what I'm living at that moment? So we have to remember that obedience is okay. That's We have the law. Gravity is there. I have to obey it. Oh, but I want to fly. That's fine. That's perfectly fine. Just create a way to fly, and you're not going to be breaking the law. You're actually going to be using the law to your advantage. Just like, let's say, when NASA wants to put a rocket up, it NASA uses gravity and the force that Earth causes on us and on everybody that's here to propel the rocket further. And if you've heard, like I think last year, there was this mission from the European station that sent this uh, machine, I don't know how to call it, to meet a comet. And because it needed propulsion, it didn't have any more fuel. What it did was it needed to go and turn around Earth and use Earth's gravity field to propel this machine further down to Earth, to actually put something farther away from Earth. So we are using the law and understanding it. So if we obey the law and we understand the law, we will give reason to the law, and then we can make use of it to us and to other people, and to make everybody better.
exactly. And you're right. And Mackenzie, as you're saying, the reminder for all of us here is We need to comply with the laws of the universe, which are the divine laws.
Yeah.
People claim like, but I don't know. Well, right now we know after, since 1857, it's clear cut. It's right there, part 3, chapter 1 of the Spirit's book by Allan Kardec. Therein lies the summary of the main laws of life. And if we comply, what's going to happen? We'll be happy. And Kardec even asked, but if that's the destination, why the rush? In a way, of course, he didn't use these words, but in a way. And they answered, well, the sooner we get there, the happier we'll be. So we really need to ask ourselves. Some people, Mackenzie, they tell me, but I don't want to obey. I don't want to do this now. I want to keep myself being addicted to my things, enjoying this. And, and I see nowadays even people being upset with those who are very obedient to life and to God's laws.
Mm-hmm.
And I say, if you love yourself, you follow through because it's your happiness and it's your part in the world. It's your love for God.
Yeah,
And
that's right. Yeah.
laws, right?
It is so. It is. Yeah. I mean, it is sad to some degree to really see people and even ourselves. I mean, when we are talking about seeing people, we know that we're not perfect and we will not obey some of the laws ourselves. And we are here still because of one of the reasons is exactly that one, because we didn't obey the laws and we didn't follow through everything that we should follow. But it's sad when we see people that sometimes even close friends and close people that really decide to go on this strange path, and then all of a sudden you hear news that the person is sad and is going through a lot of problems, and we said, oh, what can we do, right? We talk about it when we say stuff, but the person wants to do it. There's nothing that we can do, right? It's their choice, and right now the book Sex and Destiny, and there's this moment when there's a character where he's been doing so many bad things that when he discarnates, he just goes crazy because he sees all the things that are going on with his life, and some spirits come to him, and then he goes insane, and his friends, his spiritual friends, come and say, oh, look, the best thing for him right now is for him to stay like insane, because if he stays insane, no other bad spirits will be able to reach him anymore. And that's a way of the law of protecting that person at that specific moment. So it is a consequence. It is a terrible consequence in a way of, if we look from the outside, what's happening to him, it is bad. But if we look from the inside and we know why it's happening, it's God saying, look, if you're not insane, you'll go even down deeper than you've been right now, because they will be able to get to you. And if you're insane, they will say, oh, he is already insane. We cannot do anything worse than this. So he will stay insane, quote unquote, here for a little while, so that he can have inner strength again and say, hey, look, I don't want to be insane anymore. What should I do from here on? But this is a consequence of not obeying the law. And like you said, it's not that I know or that I don't know the law. What laws am I talking about? I'm talking personally right now, I'm talking about the law of gravity. I'm not talking about anything else. If I know that law of gravity and love is the same kind of law, is a law that attracts me to the great creator. Gravity attracts me. We call it Mother Earth, and Mother Earth is attached to the sun, which is our star. Our hearts are connected to God, and we are circulating around him, and we are attached to him the same way. So it doesn't have to, we don't need to know all the different, it's the law of progress, is the law. Well, if we know it, good. If we know it, it is better, so that we know every little step and we know little bits and pieces here and there. But if we know love and we do it, that's what Jesus asked from us. I'm not like Chico Xavier says at one point. Jesus didn't ask us to climb Mount Everest. He just asked us simple things: love one another.
Mhm.
That's it.
That's it.
And yeah, that's it. So we don't need to know the specifics, but of course we are curious minds. We want to know more, and if we want to know more, Spiritism is right there. Like you said, part 3, Spirit's book. Just read the laws. Those are some of the laws that Kardec says. The Spirits say, "Oh, what do you think?" Kardec asks, "What do you think of these this division in 10 laws?" It says, "Oh, that's good because it mimics like the 10 Commandments, but it's just a number. It could be like 12. It could be 20. It doesn't matter because it's not the specific of the laws. It's about doing the right thing. It's about love in the end. It's love one another or love your neighbors as Jesus says, as I have been loving you." So that's the goal. Of course, we are here doing the skills and trying to reach that level, which of course is step by step. And if I have this rational mind, we will go little by little. So let's go love progress, love reproduction, love this, love that, and then following through, going step by step, and we will reach there.
Yes. And it's beautiful you're saying this. It's even making me feel you're saying all about it. It just occurred to me. I'm not good at the singing part, but I know when Johnny Cash wrote this song, he didn't mean about God, but when he wrote "Close Watch on This Heart of Mine," my eyes wide open all the time. I keep the hands out for the ties that bind. And because you're mine, of course, he meant something else, but I walk the line. So it's that willingness, in the book Thought and Life, Emmanuel talks about the will is the manager and the supervisor of the mind. So I need to be willing to comply. I need to be willing to love God above all things. I need to put my will forward and push me to really fly in the compliance of life. And it reminds me also of the Dalai Lama when he wrote a book about the 21st century. It wasn't the 21st century yet. It was the end of the 20th, beginning of the 21st. And he was saying, all that we need is this discipline not to harm.
Mm.
And he mentions discipline has such a negative connotation nowadays that I remember, and I'm going to share this, unfortunately, but Carol and Mark, who are listening to us, Carol, our adorable family, Carol Smith, Mark Smith, they were with us. We were just for a few hours at Disney with Virginia because she wanted to see Elsa, and I said,
Let it go, Vanessa. Let it go.
The line wasn't bad, so we were there. Virginia wanted, she was kind of anxious. She wanted to see what was next. And I said, Virginia, come back, come back. And I said it in Portuguese. And I said, come back. Remember discipline. But I said it kindly. I said, we have to be disciplined, Virginia. We have to wait our time. And the family before us, they spoke Portuguese. The mother looked at me like I was saying such a bad word. Like she was, and I didn't say anything bad, kindly. I was saying, Virginia, remember discipline. But for the mother in front of me, it sounded like I was using the F word. Maybe if I used the F word, it would be natural.
Yeah, you're completely right. It is apparently such a weird concept these days, and I see these small things. People say, "Oh, I don't give you the right to talk about my hair, my clothing, my this and my that." But everybody these days has opinion about everything. So you don't want people to talk about this, but you want the freedom to talk about anything that you want. So it is as if we forgot that we live in a world that we have to, and it's one of the laws, the law of society, that we need to be with people, and people will have things to say. And if I want to have the right to say some things, I need to have the ability to listen and to hear. Um, Once again, it doesn't need to be aggressive. It doesn't need to be in any kind of violent way, but we need to learn how to deal with these things and discipline. And if it's one thing that I learned here, although I had this great gift of being born at a family that I was born at, and being like you, Vanessa, spiritist from birth, just like Virginia is, discipline was one of them. So I probably not the most disciplined man in the world when I was growing up, but it was something that was in me. And I have to say, apparently these days, discipline is something that people really look as if it's something from out of this world. And when we come to the United States, we see, lines, and we see people obeying these things, and we go up front. So if you stop and let other people go, and then you go, and then you see, and you see people talking about, unfortunately, our country, where I was born at, and saying that people don't respect other people in small things. It is as if we are lacking this discipline. It's not that here is the best place in the world or wherever. It doesn't matter if it's in the United States, Sweden, Africa, whatever. It doesn't really matter. What matters is if we don't understand that for us to live together, we need to learn to respect, to see that my right ends where the right of the other starts. That we will not be able to live in peace. And knowing those boundaries and knowing when to cross those boundaries, knowing when to stop, knowing when to back off, knowing when to step forward and do something. This is discipline. I mean, discipline is not just stand back and wait for orders from everybody. No. Discipline is, now it's your turn. Now you have to do it. You need to do it. This is discipline. And sometimes it's now it's time for you to shut up. Now it's time for you not to talk. Now it's time for you not to do this. And there is nothing wrong with it. But apparently people are forgetting this, that there's order in everything. There's no fruit before the seed grows. There's no fruit. So the seed needs to blossom, and then we will have the flower. Then we will have the fruit, right? So, but some people forget that for us to be born, we need 9 months inside the belly of a mother. If nature puts into us, our babies may be born with problems. We know that people with 6 months pregnancy, 7 months, 8 months, they can survive, but it is very likely that they will suffer consequences from being out of the body before the 9 months that nature disciplines us to do it. But we are so intelligent that we think that, oh no, let's bypass the laws of nature and let's do whatever we want without consequences. Gravity is there to show us that it doesn't work that way. So discipline is something that nature shows us every time. Every day we wake up. Imagine if we're not sure that nature decided to keep the floor where it is, the ground. So I wake up, and then when I step, and then I fall because there's no floor, because there's no discipline in gravity, there's no discipline in the atoms, in matter. There is discipline there. If not, we would not have this visual world, like this physical world, because there's discipline. There's a law that connects atoms, molecules, and form our bodies. So why wouldn't there be a law that reigns over our moral side, right? What we think, how we live. So there's laws to this. The Spirit's book show us a few of them, or some parts of it, and then we are here to learn about how to learn those. And when we learn those, then they'll show, so look, this is the beginning. Now let's go to the next step.
Exactly. World, he reminds us that discipline precedes spontaneity.
Mm.
It's the reverse of what many people think in the world. And many parents are mistaken when they think I'm going to let them do whatever they like, then I'm going to teach them. No, 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 no. You teach them first and then they choose. And it's the order of events in nature. Everything goes through the discipline, order. There
Yeah,
is self.
Fred was here 2 nights ago, and I heard a few of the things that he was talking about. But I want to say it's not related to what he said. I didn't hear everything, but he is a musician amongst a lot of other things that he is, and he would probably be the one to talk about this best. But for him to start to improvise in his violin or in the piano, he had to go through a lot of discipline in learning what the positions of those little fingers are, what the arc in the violin, and all the keys on the piano, and then the black keys, and then the white keys, and then these are the one octave up, one octave down, and all these combinations of where my hand should be, what my position is, of how should I sit, how my hand should touch this. Oh, I need to wash my hands because the chords in the violin or the strings in the violin can get dirty because of my. So all of this, and then we are amazed by when we watch Joshua Bell touching that violin and playing with such a passion, and that thing that touches our heart, and we see, oh my God, how easy that is. Oh yeah, that's easy. Yeah, it's
Mhm.
been like 40 years of discipline, of playing like 8 hours a day every day, and then, oh, that's easy. Yeah, that's easy. You can do the same way. 40 hours, 40 years, 30 years playing, practicing every single day. I have this friend that he plays the classical guitar, and we were talking a while ago, and he said, oh, Mackenzie, when I stop to pray, and I don't practice that day for 1 day or 2 days because something happened, when I get the guitar on the third day or the second day, what is wrong? And my fingers apparently are not uh, good enough anymore. So I have to practice 1, 2 days to get back to where I was before. So if we see that in the regular life, right? Why wouldn't it be the same in our inner lives? Why wouldn't I need to be disciplined and obedient? But now going maybe one step further, why wouldn't I be resigned, right? Why wouldn't I understand that, oh, if I really know, because I am a Christian, and I'm not even talking about being spiritist here, because I am a Christian, or because I am a Buddhist, and I believe that there's this cycle of life going, why would this be happening to me right now if it doesn't make sense to the universe, if it doesn't make sense to my life, if it doesn't make sense for us Christians as a God looking to us, looking for us, as Christ looking for us, looking at our lives, not just based on my 43 years of age in this incarnation, but as me as an immortal spirit that was created once. And then now, if I'm suffering or if I'm going through this, even through happiness, because people are not resigned even when they are happy. And then something happens and, oh, I was happy like yesterday and now I'm not. So yeah, so you should be glad because you're happy yesterday. Can you imagine that those people that were not happy since they were born, for example? Since the day that they were born, they have nothing to eat. They have no place to go. Their houses, no houses, no sanitary conditions, nothing. And then we were happy yesterday, and then something happened today, and now everything doesn't work. The world is bitter. The world is the worst place. This is not understanding the law, independently of what the law is.
Mhm.
Not understanding that we need to be resigned in that sense, not to stop and be still and wait for the whips and lashes like Lazar mentions at the end. No, if we don't do it, it will come to a point where we will suffer. And those are the whips and lashes that he's talking about, because it's the consequence of us not doing it. Oh, I don't want to move. Yeah, you don't want to move, and there's lots of cars behind you, and they will start honking at you. They will start pushing. If you don't move, people will maybe walk out of their cars, go to your car, and say, "Hey, what's going on? You need to move." And that's what the law will do to us. The
Yeah.
law will come to us and say, "Hey, look, we need to move.
In
You
my
you,
case,
you resign."
yeah,
Go ahead.
as you're saying this, it reminds me of the importance of studying.
Mm. Oh, yeah.
In the book Thought in Life, and for those who don't know, this is the book, we studied it before.
Mm.
It's a book that is mentioned about, it's like spoken directives in the spiritual realm for those who are reincarnating. And here is given to us, and there are two chapters about one in education and one in instruction. Talks about the importance. The book becomes a dynamo, generating new life for us. So even neuroscience shows to us. So we need to study. So we often make mistakes, often not knowing that we're incurring mistakes. So that's why we need to study, and that's why the Spirit's book is here, and that's why. Oh, Vanessa, do I have? Yes, you do. If you're listening to this, you have. It's a to-do list to read the laws of God in the Spiritist book. And just to quote, I don't have the verses yet, but it's being translated, the book by Casimiro Cunha, Gotas de Luz, Drops of Light, and he has a beautiful two verses here. He says, if you search for the noble way that does not displease God, remember that peace requires service and
Mm.
fraternity. Many people want to achieve peace without any effort. He's saying, if we want to please God, and this is one of the laws of life, we are here to fulfill God's will. But Vanessa, this is like an evangelical saying, no, no, no. This is the law of life. Our guardian model showed to us, I'm here to fulfill God's will. This love God above all things, above your will, and
Mhm.
to please God, to surrender with your whole love. And that's why, Mackenzie, I felt compelled to quote the verses by Johnny Cash,
Mhm.
because if his love for a woman made him say that he would walk the line,
Oh, yeah.
the God for love make us not only compose a song, but change our lives 180 degrees and
Oh,
say,
yeah.
God, I will walk the line. Let us walk the line, friends. And that's why Mackenzie is here to say, let's walk the
Yeah.
line,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, that's right. Um, walk walk the line. Walk, what do they say? Talk the talk and walk the talk, whatever, something like that. So we need to say it, but we need to do it. That's the thing. We really need to do it, because if we want something to change, like Gandhi says, we need to be the change that we want to see in the world. And people say, "Oh, but we already know that, right?" And I find that to be so interesting of Kardec when he asks Saint Augustine, well, not when he asks Saint Augustine, but when Saint Augustine enters the 919 of the Spirit's book, the question 919, and says, "Oh, the answer is, know thy man, know thyself." And then Kardec says, "Oh, that's we already know that, but we want to know more specifically what we can do." So this thing that Gandhi says is one of those great quotes that I bet people will be saying for eternity. If we want to change, do it yourself. And he did it. He did it without one single droplet of blood. That was peace. That in our lifetime, Vanessa, it's one of the greatest examples of peace. And of course, outside of Spiritism, we would see Chico di Valdo in our way. But it's one of the greatest examples of peace. And he did it, and he was able. And people say, "Oh, but it was Gandhi." Not well. Gandhi was a man. He was a regular man, just like ourselves, and he decided to do it because he was not satisfied with what the law was saying, right? So he went to discuss. And like we said in the beginning, he said, okay, this is the law. Yeah, this is the law. So I'm not going against it, but I'm going to do with me. And I'm going to start doing with me. And you will see it that I will make, we will change something. And then he started doing it. And then he did it. So people would say, who would come to him and say, hey, you can't do this. Why? I'm doing it to myself and to my people. It's not to you. I don't want to use violence towards you. No, I want to be a peaceful man. But I need our country. We need this country to be at peace with the other country. And then he did what he did, and he became what he became. But he didn't change outside before changing inside.
But Mackenzie, when you're saying this, we need to remind everyone, not necessarily, and according to Jesus' instructions, and these were his last instructions to the disciples, when you walk the real line, many people will not acknowledge it.
Mm-hmm.
They will not recognize it. Many people will even push you away from it. Yeah. Claiming that you're wrong, that you're radical, that you are, you don't need it. But Jesus himself, he said, don't worry. It's actually a sign that you will walk in the line. So move forward, go forward. So here we have the reasoning pointing the direction. And we obey, say, yes, I need to fulfill this. And then the heart feeling, I know it's for my best. So this is the affirmation for us as the exercise. You tell yourself, I want to comply with God's laws because I know they are the best for me. I know God loves me. So build this relationship with God, like Stephen from Poland, completely a heart reasoning balance. Because you mentioned at the beginning, Mackenzie, about slavery. And there is Stephen. He doesn't agree with slavery. He's sent to a ship as a slave.
Exactly.
Many are rebellious, but he teaches them that his obedience to the man in the ship is above all else obedience to God. If God wants him to be there, he's going to be the best slave. And due to that, he gained unexpectedly his freedom. So by resigning to what seemed to be the end of the road, he gained freedom and an open door to a new life. And thanks to him, we also have Paul of Tarsus. So you see, your own liberation opens doors for the supporting the liberation of others. So it's vital that you take care of yourself, that you comply, because when we do so, others are receiving the benefits of this transformation. Right, Mackenzie?
Yeah, that's right. There's this passage from the Bible that it's so close to what you're saying, Vanessa. He says close to the end of of John, of the Gospel according to John, he says, "Very truly I tell you, you will weep and mourn while the world rejoices. You will grieve, but your grief will turn to joy." And Emmanuel makes the comment on the Way, the Truth, and the Light, one of those 4 books from the Living Spring collection by Chico Xavier and Emmanuel, chapter 93. It's called Christian Happiness. In Portuguese, there's a beautiful song called Christian Happiness, called Alegria Cristã. It's a hymn, actually, in Spiritism. And Emmanuel makes this comment that your grief will turn to joy. People will look at us and will see that we are, quote unquote, suffering, resigned as a slave, what are you doing, man? What's going on? I said, yeah, I don't know, but I just feel like it has something to do with obeying, with being resigned and understanding that I am not a physical man, that I am more than this, that I am more than just this beautiful physical woman that I was born as in this life, that I'm a spirit, that for about 80 years, maybe 90 years, I'm just living in this body here.